Welcome to the UAM Blackboard tutorial on how to edit your test settings. To edit your test settings, find your test, click on the drop-down arrows, and click on Edit the Test options. Test availability. Select Yes to make a link to the assessment appear to students. If this option is set to No, it will not appear to students. You can set this to Available and then use the Display After and Display Until fields to limit the amount of time the link to the assessment appears. The My Course and My Announcements modules. Multiple attempts. This option allows students to take the assessment multiple times. The status of multiple attempts is displayed to students at the top of the assessment. Select Allow Unlimited Attempts for students to take the assessment as many times as they wish. Select Number of Attempts and enter a numeral to indicate a specific number of attempts that is allowed. Forced completion. Students must complete the assessment the first time it is launched if forced completion is selected. Students may not exit the assessment and continue working on it at a later date. The Save button is available for students to save the assessment as they work through it, but they may not exit and re-enter the assessment. If the forced completion option is enabled, it is noted and explained to students at the top of the assessment. If forced completion is not enabled, students may save their progress and complete the assessment at another time. We recommend that you do not use the forced completion due to the fact that students may be kicked out if they minimize or move the test browser. Set timer. Select this checkbox to set a time limit for finishing the assessment. If this option is selected, enter the amount of time to allow for the test or survey in the hours and minutes boxes. The time elapsed is displayed to the student during the assessment. A 1-minute warning is also displayed as students approach the time limit. Selecting this option also records completion time, which is available under the test information when the attempt is complete. If a student saves and exits the assessment, the timer continues. If a timer is set, turning Auto Submit on will save and submit the assessment automatically when time expires. Leaving it off will give students the option to continue after the time expires. Display After. Select a date and time when the test will become available to students. This field is optional. You can control availability through the Make the Link Available option without setting specific dates. Display Until. Select the date and time the test will be made unavailable to students. This field may be left blank. Password. Select this checkbox to require a password for students to access the assessment. If this checkbox is selected, enter a password in the field below. Passwords cannot be longer than 15 characters and are case sensitive. Due date. Select the date and time for the test to be completed by. Self-assessment options. Select this option to include this test in grade center calculations. If the test is not included, the score does not affect any grade center calculations. Select this option to hide this test score from you and exclude it from grade center calculations. The display in the grade center will read complete or incomplete and not announced, or 0 appears on the grade details page. You cannot see the students' answers to questions. Students are still able to view their own scores. Selecting this option makes Include this column in other grade center calculations and shows statistics, average and median, for this column to students in My Grades, unavailable when editing column information in the grade center. For using the test as a self-assessment, selecting all of the feedback options will give students the most information to help them improve. Select all of the options under Test Feedback so students are able to see how they did. If all options are selected, students will see the answer they selected and which ones are correct. If students are taking the test at different times, you can choose to make a limited amount of feedback available until all students have completed the test. Test Presentation. If you select All at Once, this will present the entire assessment on one screen. Students scroll through all the questions and can move up and down from question to question. If this is selected, Prohibit Backtracking cannot be selected. If you select One at a Time, this displays one question at a time. The screen includes navigation tools to move between questions. The Submit button will only appear on the last page of the assessment. Prohibit Backtracking may be selected. Randomized questions may also be selected. If you select Prohibit Backtracking, this prevents students from going back to questions they have already answered. If backtracking is prohibited, questions will be presented one at a time and the arrow buttons will not appear to users during the test. If you select Randomized Questions, this displays questions in a random order each time the assessment is taken. If questions are written to include references to the question numbers as displayed on the test canvas, do not use this option because the random order changes question numbering. Click Submit to complete the editing of your test settings.